What's up, everybody? It is the 21st of January today, and I have finished my first read of the year. I don't have a copy with me, physically, because I read this book in English class and I've returned it already. I actually did finish this book like a couple days ago, just about a week ago now. I just didn't come up with the idea for this video until like a couple days ago, but this book is called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and in this video I'm not going to be like rating these books, or I don't think I will, but I'd say this book was amazing. I gave it a 4-star out of 5-star on Goodreads when I finished it. This book is basically about this guy named Okonkwo. He is a tribesman in Nigeria, and he finds much importance in emphasizing his masculinity and his toughness. And that's really what he combats throughout the book. He's spending the whole entire novel trying to prove himself, even though he's not necessarily being questioned. It's more of an internal problem, in my opinion. And it's a really interesting novel. There's more that goes on in this book than just him combating his insecurity of sorts. It is also about his tribe. They have their own religion, and it's a traditional religion. I don't remember what it's called, but where they worship multiple gods for different reasons. And then missionaries that support Christianity end up arriving in his tribe and surrounding tribes, or clan. I think they call it a clan in this book. But another like big part of the book is that, we're trying to see who's going to kind of like be the one that comes out on top after all of this. Like, the missionaries are slowly but surely gaining people, and the traditional religion is losing people, but they also still have like a few very, very loyal people. So that's an interesting part of the book too, trying to figure out what that outcome will be. Yeah, that's basically, I don't want to give too much away, but I just want to tell you all that I highly recommend this book. I feel like it's important. Number one, it teaches you about, it's written by a Nigerian man, Chinua Achebe. I'm pretty sure he's Nigerian. Whatever his background is, he does have like adequate knowledge on, this culture. It's not just like some author that's like pulling stuff out of their ass. He really knows what he's talking about. And prior to reading this book, and I'm not going to be talking about this too much because I read this in 2024, but I read Chinua Achebe's kind of criticism on Joseph Conrad, which Joseph Conrad, especially in his Heart of Darkness, which I read some excerpts from, not the whole thing, he describes this African tribe and just like people, like African people and black people in general, to be very like primitive and primal, like they were not even with any other type of person at all. And then we have like Chinua Achebe's description, and he really takes time in this whole entire book that he wrote. These are people that have skills, they have personalities, they're able to communicate. It's a completely different thing, and in his essay, which I don't remember what it's called. If I do remember what it's called, then I'll edit it and put it down there. But you know, he kind of calls out Joseph Conrad in this essay, saying that, you know, he's really supporting Orientalism, and that it's kind of not a good portrayal at all. And you know, I think that Things Fall Apart really emphasizes the light, the part that should be emphasized. You know, this book does a great job of talking about Ibu culture, and I just genuinely really enjoyed it. And on top of it being an important book, it is a very enjoyable book. So I'd say if you're looking for something to read, really check this out. This is, as far as I know, the first piece of African literature that I've ever read. And I think that it was a great introduction. And if I can get my hands on the sequel of Things Fall Apart, because I'm pretty sure there's 3, I think it's just called the African Trilogy, which I found out through Goodreads. If I can get my hands on the second one, then I would highly consider reading it. I don't know if it'll be something I'll read this year, but, you know, we'll see what happens. Alright, see you for the next book. Alright, what's up everybody? Today is March 6th, and I just finished Hamlet today, by William Shakespeare, of course. I really enjoyed this book. I just finished it today. The last segment about Things Fall Apart. I filmed it like a couple days after I finished it, so I had a little bit more time to gather my thoughts. But Hamlet was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's my second full read of the year. I did attempt to read some things and put them down. Just haven't found much that interests me yet. But Hamlet is one of Shakespeare's longest works, if not the longest, and it's a really valuable story about kind of like a need for revenge and how far one is willing to go to get it. It follows a prince whose father was murdered, and he is on this quest that kind of ends up troubling him to avenge his father's death. So, to get unneeded justice, and he does a lot of crazy things in order to get the justice that he thinks that his father deserves. And it makes for a really great story. As you can see, I have some page tabs, and I actually did, you know, annotate. I don't know if you can see. I annotated a little bit, which is something that I really never do, and I've been meaning to start doing. I thrifted this book the day before I found out that I was going to be reading Hamlet for English class. This was a AP Lit read, and I'm very glad that I had the opportunity to read this alongside my peers, because if I'm going to be so honest with you, Shakespeare is not really something that I'm usually excited about reading. And I bought this because I got it at Goodwill, and I found it, and my friend had just read Hamlet, and I thought to myself, you know, I'll read it for you, but looking back, if I were to have started to read this, because it is a more challenging piece, I probably would have quit. So I'm glad that a grade depended on it, and I found this to be a really great story. And yeah, I'd give it like 5 stars, to be honest with you. It's the best Shakespeare piece that I've read. Aside from this, I've read Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet, and I'd say my ranking is Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, than Macbeth, and they're all great. Um, but this was really nice. And in case you are looking for a brand of Shakespeare to buy or certain publisher, this is the Yale University Press version, and it has very generous footnotes here. It takes up a pretty good portion of each page. So, yeah, this is my second read of the year, and I'll tune in for the next one, but this was a major success, and, you know, I fully recommend. Also, when I did my Things Fall Apart segment, I said that I did not have a copy. I actually did end up, I actually did end up buying one. It's this yellow one right here. So I may reread, probably not this year, but it was good enough that I got it. Also thrifted, like most of my books. So that's the end of this segment. I don't really have much to say about it, but there's a lot of valuable stuff in here. So check it out. What's up, everybody? Today is March 7th, and I just read a short story. It's a fairly famous one. It's The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I know it's backwards here, but that's what it looks like. This was really good. I wanted to read something much shorter after I read Hamlet, and I'm still kind of trying to decide what, like, my next full work will be that I'm going to be reading. So I picked this up because it was on my like to read list for 2025. I have like a little stack. So this was at the top. This is the smallest thing, and it was really great. I've had people recommend it to me a numerous amount of times, and the reason I decided that I wanted to read it this year was because very early in the year, like when we just came back to school, in my English class, we were going around just like saying what we did the past weekend, and at this point I had already owned this book. It was like, as I said before, I thrift all of my books pretty much, unless they're gifts. This was 35 cents. You can see it down there. So I didn't even really know what this was, but it's 35 cents and it's a book that's this small, so I'll read it. But some person in my AP Literature class, well, their weekend recap was that they read The Yellow Wallpaper, and then like numerous people in the class, including my teacher, were like, "Oh, such a good story, like so thought-provoking," and I kind of kept that in mind, so I added this to my reading for this year, and it was a lot. It was more than I thought it was gonna be. It definitely was thought-provoking, and you know, I really don't have anything that I didn't like about it. It was really it's a special piece, and because it was so short, I did read the whole thing aloud, and I really wanted to immerse myself in the insane or like troublesome nature of the piece. So I read this out loud while I listened to classical music on vinyl. This is Saint-Saëns. That's what I listened to. So it was a rather intense reading session. It only took me 2 sides of the record, so about 40 minutes. And it was a really good reading experience. Basically, in short, without spoiling much, this story, I don't keep calling it a book, it's about 27 pages, so not really a book, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's about this woman who is experiencing psychiatric symptoms, and she is writing. It's almost written in like a diary form. So she's writing in here, and her husband is a physician, and tells her that she probably shouldn't write, and kind of like tries to give her guidance on how to be better, even though he's a physician, not a psychologist or anything. And she kind of like progressively loses it as the story goes on. She's staying in a mansion over the summer, I think, with her husband, John, and her child and the maid. But the room that she's staying in is like at the very top, and there's like windows on all sides of this room. And there's yellow wallpaper in this room. And she hates it at first. And, but then she starts to see patterns in it, and she starts to like see like the patterns moving, seeing shapes, seeing people in it, and it slowly kind of influences her way of thinking, in short. And a lot happens in these 27 pages of, you know, really great writing. I do have an excerpt here that I really thought like showcases her beautiful writing style, so I'll read that now, and excuse if I stutter over things. I never saw so much expression in an inanimate thing before, and we all know how much expression they have. I used to lie awake as a child and get more entertainment and terror out of blank walls and plain furniture than most children could find in a toy store. I remember what a kindly wink the knobs of our big old bureau used to have, and there was one chair that always seemed like a strong friend. I used to feel that if any of the other things looked too fierce, I could always hop into that chair and be safe. So, really amazing writing. And there are more stories by Gilman in this. It's like the yellow wallpaper and other stories, and I will most certainly be checking them out, because one thing that I really loved about this story was that it's truly a train of thought. It's not really giving like a novel feel. It's more like you genuinely feel like you're reading someone's diary and watching them slip away from what they were in the beginning. Because in the beginning of this, she's kind of like saying like, oh, John says that I'm sick, like my husband says that I'm sick, but at the end it's like, I feel sick, and she takes actions that proves that she's sick. And really just beautiful writing, and I'm really glad that I read this, and I feel like it's something that I'm not sure I needed to read at this point in my life, but I'm glad that I did, because I feel like this is the kind of story that no matter when you read it, no matter what's going on in your life when you read it, you're going to, like, something is going to touch your heart about the story. You know, it could be, like, you could be having a bad time or, like, an amazing time, and you'll get various perspectives on it. So, yeah, this was really cool, and I know I said in the first segment that I'm not going to be rating these, but this was, like, a 5 out of 5. No question. So, yeah, check this out. This is from Penguin Classics, but wherever you get it, I know I'm a sucker for publishers, but wherever you get it, just read it. It doesn't really matter. But, yeah, I'll check in with you guys next time. Check out this book. It's really good. What's up, everybody? This is not the usual theme of the video, but I did some book thrifting today, and I think I got a pretty good haul, so I wanted to show you guys. So this is like a little intermission from the track of the video. Please excuse me if I'm tired. I just got back from dinner, St. Patrick's Day, 2 days early. Anyway, this is I'm in a hotel right now. I'm in Central PA, and these books are from DJ Ernst Books in Selinsgrove. And I really recommend checking it out because it's a great small place, and they have a lot of amazing books for amazing prices. So let me open this bag. I got a good amount, so I have to stack them. Some of them aren't mine, so I'm going to put some of them away. But we will check it out. A lot of books. Let's see. So, first book that I got is, even though you can't see it on the cover, this is the Reader's Guide to James Joyce, which I really, I think I'll find it useful, because I am reading James Joyce right now. I read it in AP Lit, and I am planning on reading in the future because I'm actually reading Portrait right now, and it's like a contender for favorite book, if I'm being honest with you. So this one covers Dubliners, Portrait, which is what I'm reading, Stephen Hero, Exiles, Ulysses, Finnegan's Wake, and it also has a bibliography. So I feel like this is a pretty general thing. This is great. This is from 1971. So I'll put it over here. This one's not mine. Okay. I got, second book, I got Beowulf and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. This one, I don't really know much about this book, if I'm being completely honest with you, and I actually bought it for a interesting reason. Last year, my school's jazz band did a song called Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and I was a fan of that performance, I'd say. And I've heard of Beowulf, so I was like, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, I knew that was a story, so why not buy it? This one was $9. It's in great condition. It's from 1935. And these are all thrifted, obviously. Next up, I got Robert Frost's A Boy's Will and North of Boston. This is a poetry collection. It's a Dover thrift edition. And I don't know anything about this, but it was $1, literally. And I love Robert Frost. I have a Robert Frost, a pretty large Robert Frost book at home. And my AP Lit teacher also really likes Robert Frost. And so we've read some of his stuff in class. And I think I may like him almost as much as my teacher does. Next up, we have Stephen Hero by James Joyce, which is one that was mentioned in the first one. Don't know anything about this. Let me check. It's $5. I'd actually never heard of this book, but when you get to the back, all I had to do was read like the first sentence and I was sold, because it says, Stephen Hero is an early version of Joyce's famous A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. It was originally rejected on grounds of indecency, so the story goes by 20 publishers, whereupon Joyce threw the manuscript in the fire, but Mrs. Joyce rescued several unburnt portions. So this is like baby Portrait, and I'm reading Portrait right now, so, and I'm really liking it, so I'm, hell yeah. this one. I actually got I got this for my lit teacher. So my AP Lit class has been probably my favorite class that I've ever taken at my school, and it will be, meeting its end in like a couple weeks, because it's the three marking period class, so 3/4 of the school year. And I could not respect my AP Lit teacher more. And we read, in the very beginning of the course, we read A&P by John Updike, and I can't particularly remember if my teacher was a fan of the book, but we did spend a lot of time analyzing it, and I'm assuming that he's going to teach more John Updike in the future. So I actually got him a copy of Poor House Fare that's signed by John Updike, which I thought was pretty cool, and I think that he'll like it, and I hope he does. I have not read this book, so I decided I got myself a smaller copy of the same book, The Poor House Fare. So this one is for my AP Lit teacher, and this one is for me, and who knows, maybe we'll book club it. But okay, let's see. Is there there's nothing that tells you what the book's about, but I did like A&P, and this is short. Look at how tiny that is. So yeah, I got 2 copies, and I really hope that he enjoys that. This one, John Updike died in 2009, so his signature is not in circulation anymore, per se. I can't even read what he wrote. I can read cursive, it's just like bad. I think he said, "For Doug and Jane, cheers." John Updike. And I looked up what his signature looked like before I bought it, and it's legit. So hopefully he likes it. And then next up I got The Bridge of San Luis Rey by Thornton Wilder. I have never heard of this book, so I don't know, but it was 50 cents, and it's short. It's very short, and it seems like it is multiple short stories or a 3-parter or something. It says on the back, "To the serious general reader or a student in class, this exciting new series will bring an increased understanding and enjoyment of great books, old and new, and opportunities to develop and practice personal skills. This is made possible by adding specifically prepared supplements to the complete and unedited original text." Okay, that told me nothing, but sorry. But the cover was pretty cool. I am a cover judger. And I've never heard of, I think I have heard of Thornton Wilder, and it was in the classics section, so I am looking forward to that. It's short enough that even if I hate it, I'll read it. Most of these books, aside from the signed John Updike, was like $5 or less, so looks like a lot of books, and it is, but I'm not insane. Anyway, so next up I bought Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, and The Secret Sharer, which is right here. It's a nice edition. It's 50 cents. I read some excerpts from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which I mentioned in a past segment, but I haven't read the whole thing, and funny enough, I have the Cliff Notes for Heart of Darkness, but I haven't read the full thing, and I would be interested in doing so, because I feel like it's a good book to read. I don't know what to tell you. I just felt like it. So yeah, Heart of Darkness is something that I definitely want to read. I've never heard of The Secret Sharer, But if I like Heart of Darkness, then I will read The Secret Sharer. And I actually own the Cliff Notes for Heart of Darkness, which is, I know that's like weird to buy before you own the book, but if Heart of Darkness is hard, then I'll have help. So that's what that looks like. And then next up, we have 4 Quarters by T.S. Eliot. This is very small. This one, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, widely honored for his poetry, criticism, essays. Okay, so this doesn't tell us about the book. It tells us about him. T.S. Eliot is very cool, I know. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, this was 50 cents. It does say, from the seller, this book will explode, which I know what that means because I've had it happen before. If I open it too much, all the pages are going to fall out. But, you know, maybe I only need to read it once. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe it'll explode my mind. Yeah, so this is called 4 Quarters. Let's see, a quote from somebody by precept and example had to bring into the music of poetry the grace and freedom which had arrived in the art of pure music many years before. Eliot was the man. Sure. Let's see. This is from 1971. 50 cents. Next up, we have Changing Places by David Lodge. This was also, well, this was $1. So, yeah. Okay, we have a synopsis here. The plate glass concrete jungle of Euphoria State University, USA, and the damp red brick University of Rummage have an annual exchange scheme. Normally, the exchange passes without comment, but when Philip Swallow swaps with Professor Zapp, the fates play a hand, and the 2 academics find themselves enmeshed in a spiraling involvement of opposite sides of the Atlantic. Nobody is immune. Students, colleagues, even wives are swapped as the tension increases. Finally, the cat is let out of the bag with a flourish that surprises even the author himself. So, yeah, I've actually heard of this book. So, and it's a Penguin, which is my favorite. Penguin Publishing has a special place in my heart, and I really liked the illustration. I thought it was nice. So yeah, there's that. And then this one's not mine. And then we have The Saddest Summer of Samuel S. by J.P. Donlevy. This one is also a Penguin book, and I have never heard of this, and I have no idea what it's about. But the text is like really big, and the book is really small, and it was $1, and I could get it done in a day, maybe. So I'm intrigued by it, I'll say. There's not really a real synopsis on the back, it's more of just an excerpt from the book. And I've read it, I just don't really get it. But if any of you know this book, let me know how it is in the comments. It is still early in the year, so I don't know if I'll have read it already by the time this is uploaded. But this is The Saddest Summer of Samuel S. And then second to last, we have Pygmalion. I don't know how to say that, by Bernard Shaw. This book, actually one of my friends is reading it in a different English class right now. And I always, when my friends are reading books in their English classes that I haven't read, I always kind of deep down want to read it because I want to be able to talk about it with them. So this is a really short book. So I'm thinking that I'll read this soon so I can talk about it. This one also does not have a synopsis, but I I don't know, my friend hasn't said anything negative about it, so, and I've heard of it, I just don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. That's a Penguin Plays. And then lastly, finally, we have Raise High the Roof Beam, Carpenters and Seymour, an introduction by J.D. Salinger. J.D. Salinger is one of my favorite authors ever. I've read Catcher in the Rye, of course, Franny and Zooey. I haven't read 9 Stories yet, I have that book though. I've read a lot of his short stories, like Go See Eddie, for example. So I'm really excited about this. And then I presume the Seymour introduction is a reference to Franny and Zooey, because there's a character in Franny and Zooey called Seymour. I think he's the brother or something. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this, and I'm glad that I have a copy now, so I can bring it to college. I have a lot of J.D. Not a lot. I have all of the essential J.D. Salinger books now that I know of. So, hell yeah. Okay, this is my haul. I know this isn't what you clicked on the video for, but you got it. And you'll be able to see now if I actually end up reading any of these anytime soon. So, hell yeah. Happy St. Pat's. Hey, what's up everybody? It is March 17th, it is St. Patrick's Day, and to celebrate, I guess, I read The Confession of St. Patrick, and I read this all today. I left out, this is like a 3-parter, so it doesn't just have The Confession of St. Patrick in it. It has, let me see, what's it called? Letter to Coroticus. These are all by St. Patrick. They're just not always, there's like 3 things, I think. There's also, the Confession of Bishop Patrick, so that's the Confession of St. Patrick. And then after that, it's a little late right now, so I ended up skipping this last thing. It's only like a few pages, so I'll probably read it tomorrow. But Patrick's Lorica, Deer's Cry, at the very end, like literally 3 pages. I did not read that, but I read everything else. This book, I obviously know who St. Patrick is, and I'm Catholic, but I feel like I probably should have done some, like, research before I read this, because I did read it, and I understood, like, there was a lot of things that were, like, just promoting good faith, and, kind of, like, using excerpts from the Bible to emphasize his points, but when it got to the stuff about, like, his life, and, the conflicts that were going on at the time within like the world and the Catholics, I really had no knowledge on what he was talking about, so it was a little hard for me to adequately, like, take in all of this. Like, I don't know who Coroticus is, and, you know, yeah, there's, like, a lot of words in here, and a lot of, names, especially, that I'm not really sure about, but even so, I think that this was a good thing to read. I have to admit, I am a prologue skipper, like, and a preface skipper. I just get straight to it, so maybe it would have helped if I read that. I'm assuming it would have. But also at the same time, the preface, I'm pretty sure, is also written by St. Patrick, so not that that matters, but yeah, so I read this. There were a few, like, really nice quotes. Let me see if I can find one. most of it is just like stuff from the Bible that he quoted. So it's kind of like St. Patrick, but it's also just like quotes from whatever Bible he used. But the one that stood out to me the most was on page 6, section 8 of his, this was not his confession, this was like the letter to Coroticus. But, so, woe to those who feast themselves on things that are not their own, or what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and suffers the loss of his own soul? And I thought, I don't know, that really resonated with me. Not really sure why. It's a little too late right now to decide. I'll look at it tomorrow and think about it. But yeah, this book I definitely recommend, but you should do your research before you read it, because I really think that I would have gotten more out of it if I would have, at least read his like Britannica page beforehand. But especially the letter in the beginning, like I really got a lot out of that. I read that earlier in the day, and then I finished up with the confession later. But this is really good. This is the translation by John Skinner. And it says in the back here that John Skinner studied to become a Jesuit priest before pursuing a career in writing. A former journalist with the Times of London, he has extensively researched the works of great mystics and saints. So he knows what he's talking about. I'm not sure what language this was originally in, because St. Patrick is kind of confusing, and as I said, I don't know much about him. He's obviously known for his like Irish affiliation, but I'm pretty sure he's not Irish. He's either Italian or British, I think. So I'm assuming, because it's a translation, which means it probably wasn't in English. It was probably in not Latin, Italian. Yeah, it was probably in Italian, or I don't know. He spent a good majority of his life in Ireland, so maybe it's one of the languages from around there. But anyway, The Confession of St. Patrick, a good read. It was a spontaneous read. I had it up here in this big stack of books, and I was like, I'm gonna read the whole thing today, which I did, except for the little thing at the end. But I recommend. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I'll check in with you next time. What's up, you guys? Today is March 26th, and I just finished A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. This was really good. I'll say that right off the bat. I finished it like 10 minutes ago. There's a lot to say about this book. I read it for a book club in AP Lit. It's our last read of the course, and it was really like I wasn't expecting to read it in high school. My AP Lit teacher really adores this book and really likes James Joyce. So I've heard about it from him, but we actually ended up reading it in my book club. The book club was given like full freedom. We were able to pick anything that we wanted because we were in small groups within our class, and whatever we picked, my teacher actually bought us copies, which I'm very grateful for. Shout out to my teacher if you're watching. But this book really had so much meaningful stuff. Like, honestly, I'm rarely found speechless after I read a book, but this was really like a beautiful book, and my book is heavily annotated, I'll tell you that. Just like beautiful writing, relatable writing. I saw a lot of myself in the characters of this novel. Basically, in short, what A Portrait of the Artist's Young Man is about is it's about a boy named Stephen Dedalus, or Daedalus, however you'd like to pronounce that. And it starts out his first memory ever, just like the very beginning of his life. Once upon a time, and a very good time, there was a moo cow coming along the road, and this moo cow that was coming down along the road met a nice little boy named Baby Tuckoo. So basically, it starts out with a story that Stephen's dad told him when he was a baby, and then it spans all the way up until when Stephen is like well into university. So it takes place over a very long span of time, and it kind of just speaks on, you know, universal experiences that everyone has when they're growing up. You know, and I guess not everyone has all these experiences, but for me personally, and I feel like for most people, it's just, it's like looking in a mirror sometimes when you're reading this. Like, it's really great. I'm trying to find a quote that stood out to me. There's a lot. I underlined like 40% of this book. Let's see. There's also like some great connections to James Joyce's other works, such as The Dead, in this, which I enjoyed. I like it when authors do that. Let's see. Yeah, like there's a lot of like universal like things discussed in here, like you know, bullying, first time that you remember getting sick, you know, seeing your family fight for the first time, and like all these things that happen to everyone. And what's interesting about this book is it's not, like none of it is necessary, even though it's written in the past tense, like none of it is written, it's not like Stephen is in college now and he's looking back on when he was like 5 and he's writing about that. It's like as if he was 5. This is what he's seeing right now. I don't know if you guys get what I mean, but it's like very real, and it really like opens a door to like how people perceive life at different ages. You know, let's see. Yeah, like right here. This is page 20. This is when he's in like boarding school, like elementary school. And there's like a girl that has a crush on him named Eileen, who kind of like approaches him, but he doesn't understand, which I thought was interesting, and the way that he describes it was interesting. She had put her hand into his pocket where his hand was, and he had felt how cool and thin and soft her hand was. She had said that pockets were funny things to have, and then all of a sudden she had broken away and had run laughing down the sloping curve of the path. Her fair hair had streamed out behind her like gold in the sun. Tower of ivory, house of gold. By thinking of things, you could understand them. And I don't know, I thought that was great. Like, there's so many quotes in here that are amazingly written. That's just like one that my eyes glided to first. But you know, it's there's a lot of, and anyone that's taken an English class in like middle school or high school that's watching this knows what I'm talking about. But there's so many instances of like show don't tell in this book, which I know that's like most authors know to show and not tell, but James Joyce does a great job of that. Like through that quote, you know that Stephen does not quite understand what's going on, but also at the same time, he's kind of into it in a way. Like he kind of likes her too, but but that's described, but it's not said because he doesn't even know. Like when it says her fair hair had streamed out behind her like gold in the sun, like that's admiration. But it's not like they're saying like Stephen felt the same way about Eileen. Like no, they're saying that like he found beauty in her. And I thought that was really great. And yeah, this whole book is just amazing, you know, and I wouldn't say that I understood the whole thing, but I do believe that this is the kind of book that is meant to be read more than once. Like, right now I am a senior, I'm about to start college, and I feel like in a certain way it was kind of proper that once he got to college, I kind of stopped understanding what was going on. And that might just be a fault of my own, but also at the same time, I find it interesting. Like, maybe I'm not meant to know. Maybe I'm not meant to understand it yet. It's, like, it's interesting. Like, I understood everything in the book crystal clearly until I got to the age beyond what I am. Which, you know, I found that poetic in its own way. But there was a lot of, this is just a great book, like honestly. And I think it's definitely one that is hard to talk about in its full sense. Like this, by far, I think this is the best thing I've read all year. But even then, I don't really have much to say. But yeah, this is a really beautiful book, and I fully recommend. It is longer than this. Just the text in this is small, but really just like a beautiful book. I'd give it like, you know what? I'm not gonna rate this one because I feel like it's not something that should be rated right now. But yeah, go check this out, seriously. A Portrait of the Young Man as an Artist by James Joyce. Really great stuff. And, you know, I'm very glad I read it. And it's a great read, and it was the best way to close out AP Lit. So, yeah. Tune in for the next segment. Thanks. Okay, what's up, everybody? Today is March 27th, and I just finished Lilies of the Field by William E. Barrett. This is a small book, and it was actually a really sweet read. I know that the last segment that I filmed was yesterday. I did not read this in one day. This was kind of like my background read while I was reading Portrait. And this is like a really wholesome book. And I finished this like 10 minutes ago, perhaps. It's about this man who, like, stumbles upon this group of German nuns that live, like, in a really rural area. and he's looking for work, and he ends up like being tasked with building a church for them closer to where their house is. Like there's a church in like a neighboring town, but they want a chapel on their land. And initially he doesn't really want to. He's like, how the hell am I gonna do that by myself? Which is something that I would think as well. So, pretty realistic. And like he goes through some like character development, and I won't spoil it, but I think you can guess what will happen. This was really like, I have to admit, I'm used to reading like stressful books, and like deep books and books that are like really like thought provoking. Not saying that this isn't thought provoking, but you know, this was like a very low stress read, and I actually had a really good time with it. It was a nice like breath of fresh air. And to be honest with you, I haven't really identified like one certain moral or theme that is present here. There's like multiple. Um, you know, this is a great story about like believing in your own potential, like taking in what the world gives you, or like what God gives you, or whatever you believe gives you. Just like accepting what comes to you, because initially in this book, Homer, that's the main character, he really is kind of like reluctant to everything, like the whole thing, like his like interactions with the nuns, and like working for the nuns, and like staying with the nuns, like throughout all of that he's kind of just like not feeling it, and he considers like leaving, and he's like thinking about it debatably too much. But like as the story goes on, he like finds a home there, and he's like pretty, I don't know how to put it, like he ends up being pretty content, even more so than he was before he met them. So that's like a really big thing. And there are people in the book that like doubt Homer's abilities to build this church, and I'll just say he defies those odds. This book takes place. I know it was released in the 60s. Let's see, 1962, but I'm pretty sure it takes place like right after, you know, the end of slavery, basically, and Homer is a black man, and he's the only black man in this book. So some of those doubts that other people serve him about his abilities have something to do with that. So him overcoming those really meant a lot to his character. Yeah, this was like a really sweet book, and I don't know anything else about this author, William E. Barrett, but like, if for anyone watching this, if you need like a book that doesn't change your heart rate at all, if anything slows it, then pick this up, because even though it's like super relaxing and sweet, it's not boring. Like you still have that motivation to move on to the next chapter, but you're not moving on to the next chapter because you're like anticipating something terrible. You're just moving on to the next chapter because you're having fun. So this was a really good book. Check it out, and I'll see you in the next segment. What's up, everybody? Today is March 28th, so the next day since the last segment, and I just finished A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Sorry, there's like a shadow here. You can still kind of see. I really loved this, and I think it's actually the probably my favorite Shakespeare play that I've read now. So that means that I'm putting it above Macbeth, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, and like that's pretty much it. I thought that this was like, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Shakespeare always kind of intimidates me when I read it, but this was not difficult. This is one of those like Shakespeare made easy versions, so it was what my school library had, where it has like modern English on one side, but I didn't read any of the modern English stuff because I used an audio book, so I didn't really have time, and I didn't really feel like that was something that I needed. But even then, the audiobook really helped me understand the play. I picked this up kind of like impulsively, not really, but I'm going on like a trip with one of the English classes at my school in a couple weeks to see A Midsummer Night's Dream performed, and I had seen it performed before. That must have been, it was a couple months ago, long enough ago where I don't remember everything crystal clearly, but I figured if I'm going to see it again, I might as well read it. And I probably would have done that last time, but I didn't have time because it was like, I figured out that it was being performed and that I could go like 2 days before, so I didn't have time. But I really loved this, and it was funny. It's a Shakespearean comedy, so there's 3 sectors of Shakespeare, as we know. There's like tragedies, where it's like practically everybody dies. Usually doesn't have a great ending. And then there's histories, which are about historical events, which I actually haven't read any. I don't know what an example of that would be from Shakespeare. Probably Julius Caesar. I don't know. I have it up here. Maybe it'll tell me. Here's Julius Caesar. No, it's that Shakespeare. Wow, what am I saying? Julius Caesar, it says on the back, it's a tragedy. But yeah, so 3 sectors of Shakespeare. Getting back on topic, there's tragedies. Everyone dies. Comedies, which is the 3rd one, and then histories. Comedies. This is the only one that I've read, and I loved it really. Most Shakespearean comedies, as I know, I'm not sure. Most of them end in a wedding, which I won't spoil, but there's a lot of clever stuff in here, and the audiobook that I was listening to, I forget what like company it's from, but it's just like a public domain recording that's on YouTube. It made the play 10 times funnier, because the person, like, and I hope this isn't like his real voice, but the person who voiced Lysander in the audiobook sounded so stupid. So it kind of made it like unintentionally funny. And I just found the play like really interesting. Like I did have a discussion with one of the English teachers at my school, the one that I'm going on the field trip with, prior to me reading this, and he explained the like plot to me. So there's like a love square, which if I try to explain it, then I'm gonna butcher it. But basically like a love triangle plus one, and that's interesting, and it was interesting to read. And then also within this play, there's a play, so there's a play within a play here, and I thought that was interesting too, and it was funny. So what more can you ask for? But yeah, this was really good, and of course I recommend it. This is another one that I don't think that I could properly rate because it's Shakespeare, but by far, and this is just personal preference, but this is my favorite Shakespeare that I've read so far, and I'm hoping to read Julius Caesar soon, so we'll see. I want to read a lot of things, but yeah, Midsummer Night's Dream. I'll catch you in the next segment. Hey, what's up, everyone? Today is March 31st, and I just finished Pygmalion by Bernard Shaw. So this is a play, and it's the first one that I've read by Bernard Shaw, and it was really good. It was a recommendation. Well, firstly, it was a recommendation from an English teacher at my school that I'm acquainted with, and then a few of my friends take that English teacher's English class, and they are reading it right now. So I decided to read it as well, so I can just talk about it with my friends. And it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why, because it's an older play. I assumed that it was going to be like boring or very, very wordy. But this was very good, and I actually did read this cover to cover. So I read the preface, which I never read the preface to anything. So, yeah. And then the storyline is basically, there's kind of a lot happening, but there's a man who studies phonetics. His name is Higgins, and sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear the rain, but there's a guy named Higgins that studies phonetics, and he comes across this flower girl. She sells flowers on the street, and she is not very well versed in like proper language, and so he kind of like gives her a sort of offer, like, give me 6 months and we will have you you know, speaking like a proper person, or like using proper English. I think he says that she could pass as a duchess. And there's also another phonetics guy. His name is Pickering, which is my favorite character, and he is also working with Higgins to help this girl, her name is Liza, study English. Yeah, so that's kind of a thing. And then, like, throughout the book, she learns how to speak properly, and ends up kind of, I don't want to say rebelling against Higgins, but that's kind of what it's like. It's a very short play, and not much happens, so I don't really want to give too much away for the sake of spoiling. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and check it out. See you next time.